It's unfair. That's what Justin Verlander said the first time he really faced Mike Trout. Not unfair like the umpire missed a call, unfair like the game itself had been rigged, like someone stacked the deck before the cards were even dealt. But what shocked Verlander and every other elite pitcher who has stood 60 feet away from Trout wasn't fear. It was the realization they were watching something that shouldn't exist. The greatest hitters have weaknesses. Trout doesn't. So what did the best pitchers on earth see in Mike Trout that the rest of us didn't? Let's start with Clayton Kershaw, the best left-handed pitcher of a generation, a man whose curveball was so devastating that Vin Scully called it public enemy number one. Kershaw has humiliated lineups for over a decade. His pitches don't just deceive hitters, they break them. But when Mike Trout steps into the box, something changes. Kershaw's best pitch, the curveball that buckles knees and ends at bats, becomes just another pitch Trout can hit. And that realization is terrifying. The first time these two MVPs faced each other in a regular season game, it was the first time reigning MVPs from each league had ever met on the field. Yasmani Grandal, catching for Kershaw that day, admitted he was a fan. He said it's not often you get to see one of the best players face one of the best pitchers. Even the guy behind the plate understood he was watching something special. But for Kershaw, special meant dangerous. Trout doesn't just react to Kershaw's curveball. He recognizes the spin the moment it leaves Kershaw's hand. Most hitters see the hump, think fastball and lunge. By the time they realize it's breaking, they're already off balance. Trout stays back. His lower half is stable, rooted like a tree. His hands stay locked until the very last millisecond. He tracks the pitch all the way to the hitting zone and adjusts his swing path to meet the ball at its lowest point. The pitch that destroys everyone else becomes a line drive for Trout. Kershaw knows this. That's why every pitch to Trout has to be perfect. There are no get-me-over fastballs, no breathing room, no margin for error. One mistake and the ball is gone. Kershaw has said he's not trying to throw 6 or 7 pitches just to strike someone out, but Trout forces exactly that. He extends every at-bat. He fouls off elite pitches. He refuses to give in. And when Kershaw finally makes one small mistake, Trout makes him pay. The respect between them is real. Trout has called Kershaw the best in the league. Kershaw has admitted Trout is an extraordinary challenge, but that mutual respect doesn't change the dynamic. When they face each other, the best pitch in baseball isn't enough. Before we go further, hit that subscribe button and drop a comment. Tell us which pitcher you think had it the hardest against Trout. Now let's talk about Justin Verlander, a future Hall of Famer with over 3,000 strikeouts. Man who rebuilt his career in Houston by living at the top of the strike zone with high fastballs that blow past hitters. Verlander thrives on expanding the zone. He gets hitters to chase pitches just above the letters or sliders just off the black. Those chase pitches are his bread and butter. But Mike Trout doesn't chase, and that simple fact breaks Verlander's entire game plan. Verlander has called Trout's discipline unfair. Not unfair in a joking way. Unfair in a frustrated, almost desperate way. Because when a hitter removes the edges of the plate from your arsenal, not by hitting them, but by ignoring them, you're left with nothing. Verlander throws a slider that drifts off the corner. Ball 1. He elevates a fastball just above the zone. Ball 2. Suddenly the count is 2 and 0 or 3 and 1. Now Verlander has to come into the zone with a predictable fastball. He knows it. Trout knows it. The whole stadium knows it. And the worst part is that Trout still has the power to destroy that pitch. Verlander is a cerebral pitcher. He studies hitters, he adjusts, he game plans. But you can't trick Mike Trout. You can't bully him. You have to beat him in the strike zone, and the statistical probability of doing that is dangerously low. Verlander's high fastball, the pitch that fueled his resurgence, is neutralized by Trout's ability to lay off the balls and crush the strikes. Even when Verlander executes a perfect pitch on the corner, if the umpire calls it a ball, the frustration boils over. Not just because of the call, but because of who is standing at the plate. Verlander's visible reactions on the mound tell the story. The exhale, the shaking of the head. It's the body language of a man who knows he's playing a rigged game. Trout has memorized the rule book better than anyone. Then there's Max Scherzer, a 3-time Cy Young winner with different colored eyes and an intensity that borders on psychotic. Scherzer treats every pitch like life or death, and when he faces Mike Trout, that intensity reaches a fever pitch. Scherzer has flat out said Trout is the toughest hitter he has ever faced. Coming from a man who has dominated the best lineups in baseball, that statement carries weight. Scherzer describes facing Trout as a chess match. You can't predict him. He adjusts instantly. Most hitters fall into patterns. They have tendencies. Scherzer sets traps. He shows a fastball inside to open up the outside for a slider. He changes eye levels. He manipulates timing. But Trout deconstructs those sequences in real time. He doesn't just react to the pitch, he reacts to the intent behind it. The defining moment of this rivalry came in the 2018 All-Star Game. Scherzer was starting for the National League in his home park in Washington. He was electric. He struck out Mookie Betts and Jose Altuve, 2 MVPs, on just a handful of pitches. Then Mike Trout stepped in. The atmosphere was electric. Scherzer fell behind, then battled back. The count went full. What followed was a war. Scherzer threw his best stuff, nasty sliders, blazing fastballs. Trout fouled them off. He spoiled pitch after pitch. He refused to strike out. He refused to make weak contact. Eventually, Trout drew a walk. To the casual observer, a walk is boring. To a pitcher like Scherzer, it was a profound defeat. Trout later called it the best at-bat he'd ever had, citing the nastiness of the pitches he was fouling off. Scherzer had thrown everything he had. It wasn't enough. That's the exhaustion of facing Trout. Scherzer, who prides himself on stamina, finds that Trout drains the tank faster than anyone. The mental energy required to sequence pitches against someone with no holes is immense. You can't fall into patterns. You can't rely on your out pitch working the same way twice. Trout extends the engagement. He forces you to show your entire hand. Then he capitalizes on the information he gained. Garrett Cole understands this better than most. Cole is a power pitcher. High velocity, high spin rate, aggressive, he attacks hitters. But against Mike Trout, that aggression is tempered by a terrifying reality. Trout never misses mistakes. In the major leagues, every pitcher makes mistakes. A slider doesn't break. A fastball leaks over the middle. Against 90% of hitters, those mistakes result in foul balls or long flyouts. Against Mike Trout, they result in runs. Cole knows that he can execute 99 perfect pitches, but if the 100th pitch is a mistake to Trout, the previous 99 are rendered irrelevant. It creates a tension where the pitcher feels he must be perfect on every single delivery. This leads to nibbling, trying to be too fine, missing off the plate, and falling behind in the count. And as we've already established, falling behind against Trout is a death sentence. Cole has been on the receiving end of Trout's opportunistic violence. Home runs on hanging sliders, doubles on bad pitches that were supposed to be chase pitches. The reaction is always visible, a grimace. A shout into the glove. It's the reaction of a man who opened the door just a crack, and the predator kicked it down. And Cole's not alone. Jacob deGrom, widely considered the most dominant pitcher of the late 2010s, has felt the same shift. deGrom's fastball touches 102 miles per hour. His slider is unhittable. Yet even deGrom acknowledges that when Mike Trout steps into the box, the atmosphere changes. It's not just tactical, it's atmospheric. The crowd noise shifts, a hush of anticipation or a roar of anxiety. The fielders adjust. The catcher sets up differently. deGrom, who usually dictates the tempo of the game with robotic efficiency, finds the rhythm disrupted. Trout brings a gravity to the plate that bends the game around him. The moment that defined this dynamic came in the 2018 All-Star Game. deGrom faced Trout in the third inning. He threw a 92-mile-per-hour sinker changeup that wasn't terrible. It was down. Against most hitters, it's a ground ball. Trout golfed it over the fence. deGrom's reaction was one of stunned respect. He said Trout hits the low ball well and admitted he probably should have gone fastball up. But he got me, deGrom said. Simple words from a man who is rarely got. There's a poignant parallel between deGrom and Trout. Both have been historically great players on teams that often fail to support them. The Mets and the Angels. This shared experience creates a silent bond of respect. When they face each other, it's a duel of individual brilliance isolated from the team context. Chris Sale knows that feeling too. Sale throws from a chaotic, low arm angle with a slider that sweeps across the entire zip code. He's a nightmare for right-handed hitters because the ball starts behind them. Yet Sale's assessment of Mike Trout is chilling in its simplicity. There's no weakness in Trout's swing. Scouting reports usually identify a hole, high fastballs, low and away, something. With Trout, the hole is theoretical, not practical. Sale has noted that even when you execute a pitch perfectly like a changeup on the outer edge, Trout can still drive it for extra bases. This leads to a feeling of hopelessness. If the perfect pitch isn't safe, what is? Sale relies on stuff, the raw movement and velocity of his pitches. Against Trout, stuff is neutralized by mechanics. Trout's swing is compact, direct, and incredibly fast. He stays inside the ball, allowing him to handle Sale's sweeping slider. For a pitcher like Sale, who relies on deception and awkward angles, Trout's stability is infuriating. Trout doesn't bail out. He doesn't flinch. He tracks the ball from the release point, which for Sale is way out by first base, all the way to the mitt. This lack of visual disruption means Sale can't rely on the funk in his delivery. Darvish understands this on an intellectual level. Darvish is perhaps the most cerebral pitcher in baseball. He throws 10 different pitches. He varies his timing. He constantly tinkers with his mechanics. He views pitching as an intellectual pursuit, and his assessment of Trout focuses on the mind. Trout's baseball IQ is incredible, Darvish has said. Darvish understands that Trout isn't just reacting physically. He's processing data. Trout recognizes pitch sequencing. He understands how Darvish is trying to set him up. If Darvish throws a slow curveball to steal a strike, Trout files that information away. If he tries to go back to it, Trout will be waiting. This creates a paralysis by analysis scenario for the pitcher. Because of Trout's IQ, Darvish can't fall into patterns. He has to improvise. Against Trout, he needs every bit of his versatility. Darvish respects that Trout doesn't chase dummy pitches designed to waste time. Trout creates an efficient, high-stakes environment where every pitch must have a purpose. Shane Bieber, a Cy Young winner known for impeccable control and command, highlights another terrifying trait. Trout learns and adapts within the same game. This is the Terminator aspect of Trout's game. You might strike him out in the first inning with a high fastball. If you try that same pitch in the fourth inning, he hits a double. If you try it in the seventh, he hits a home run. Analytics tells us that hitters generally perform better the second and third time they see a starting pitcher in a game. For Trout, this effect is amplified. Bieber notes that Trout downloads information. He tracks the release point, the break, the umpire's zone. By the late innings, he's constructed a complete profile of the pitcher's day. This adaptability forces pitchers to abandon their game plans. Bieber can't pitch to his strengths. He has to pitch to Trout's memory. If he got a swing and miss on a slider in the dirt, he knows Trout won't chase it again. This forces Bieber to throw strikes. And as we've learned, that's exactly what Trout wants. So what does all of this mean? It tells us that greatness isn't just about numbers. It's about the fear you inspire, the adjustments you force, the psychological weight you carry into every at-bat. Kershaw's best pitch isn't enough. Verlander's strike zone shrinks. Scherzer gets exhausted. Cole lives in fear of one bad pitch. DeGrom feels the atmosphere shift. Darvish gets outsmarted. Bieber gets downloaded. Every single one of these pitchers describes Trout as something more than a hitter. He's a force of nature. He's the predator in the box. And the scariest part is that he's not a villain. He's greatness in its purest form. These pitchers don't just fear Trout, they respect him. They admire him because facing him makes them better. It forces them to execute at the highest level. And when they do, when they throw that perfect pitch and Trout still finds a way to hit it, they understand they're witnessing history. Mike Trout is what happens when every tool is maxed out: power, discipline, baseball IQ, adaptability, vision. There's no weakness, there's no hole. There's only the inevitability that if you make a mistake, he will punish you. And if you don't make a mistake, he might punish you anyway. The game is better because Mike Trout exists. He's the standard, the measuring stick, the guy who makes Hall of Famers question their best pitches. And through the eyes of these pitchers, the greatest arms of a generation, we see the legend clearly. Not as statistics on a page, but as a living, breathing force that changes the game every time he steps into the box. So before you go, drop a comment and let us know what moment stood out to you. And don't forget to subscribe because we're just getting started. Mike Trout is greatness, and the pitchers who faced him will never forget it.